Okay, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whatever the heck time you're watching this. Hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of 333 News. I'm your news anchor Wario, and in this video, we have your full and detailed forecast of Winter Storm Hernando. Winter Storm Hernando is expected to be potentially a historic blizzard along the Mid-Atlantic and New England coastlines, and we are watching for very, very serious impacts. This won't be affecting quite as many people as Winter Storm Fern did, but the impacts will be way more severe, as we are going to see. So, as you can see here, warnings have already been issued. We have blizzard warnings along the coastlines for southern New England and the Mid-Atlantic states, including parts of New Jersey, parts of New York, all of Rhode Island, parts of Massachusetts and Connecticut. So we are watching for very serious conditions here. And we're going to be getting to your full and detailed forecast in just a minute here, because we are just setting the stage right now to tell you what exactly is going on with this really crazy nor'easter that's going to be coming through these areas that we've just mentioned, the Mid-Atlantic and New England, starting Sunday evening and going through Monday. So let's go ahead and get to your full and detailed forecast in the meteorology studio. Over to you, Donkey Kong. Alright, thank you, Wario. Welcome to the meteorology studio. I'm Donkey Kong, your meteorologist, and tonight we're going to be doing a ton of meteorology in the meteorology studio because we got yet another major winter storm. Wow, this has been quite the winter so far, hasn't it? We've had Fern was pretty major, and now we got Hernando coming on its way, and Hernando is going to be probably even more major, as we're going to see by all the stuff that I got to show you here in the meteorology studio. But first, let's get started with your current conditions. Right now, we're looking at not too bad of a night. It's currently 29 outside, relative humidity around 85% out there, and we have some pretty light winds out of the northeast at 5 miles an hour, not looking too bad. And cloudy skies, which isn't going to matter because it's nighttime anyways. The only thing that's going to really affect is you're not going to be able to see the moon or the stars, but most of you people are just inside all the time nowadays anyways, so it doesn't really matter, I guess. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started with the map and radar screen. We've got a few maps to show you here, including the GFS model run. Alright, so yeah, let's get started with that model run I just talked about. Going off to the side here, and I'm going to go ahead and get it up and start playing the model run. And it will be looping, so yeah, that's just how we have decided to set it up. This is the latest GFS model run of the storm, and the reason we are using the GFS this time and not the European model is over the time as models have trended, the GFS actually has verified more than the European on this particular storm. So we're looking at the GFS model here, and as you can see, the low pressure center becomes extremely intense, down into the 960s there. We're seeing 969 pop up in this model run. That's a very intense low pressure. This is the equivalent of a high-end Category 3 nor'easter on the Venus City nor'easter scale, which is very, very strong. And as you can see on the map here, we do have scales on the bottom here because the scaling works differently with each of these different modeling websites. We're using Pivotal Weather this time, as you can see by the watermark. And you can see the storm does start Sunday evening. It's already getting its acts together as we speak, in fact. It's developing further south of us, and it's going to be coming up the coast, and those purples that you're seeing are actually the heavier snowfall, not the mixing. And yeah, that goes to show you there's going to be some very heavy snow bands with this storm, and it's going to be lasting Sunday evening through Monday, probably late afternoon. Sticks around for quite a while, and you can see very, very tight isobars there. That means we're going to be having some very strong winds associated with the system as well. Just how strong will those winds be? We will be getting to that in just a moment. But this is what we've got for the model run. You can see a very intense storm dropping feet of snow. We're going to see just how much snow we're looking at also in a moment. And not really many mixing issues to speak of. Maybe for the Cape and the Islands, we may have some mixing issues, specifically for Nantucket, but it looks to be a pure snow event for almost everybody here. But yeah, that's what we've got for the model run. I'm going to go ahead and get that off now, and we're going to be looking at our forecast maps. And these maps get pretty crazy. Let's start with the snow total forecast. And what you'll see here is not very wide spread like Fern was. Fern was a very wide 12 to 18, maybe even localized 18 to 24 inch areas, and this storm isn't going to be having that kind of potential, but we are going to be having localized very high amounts of snow. So you can see if you go back further north and west, just like 1 to 3 inches or 3 to 6 inches if you're not really getting directly hit by the storm. So still a tiny bit of snow for you guys that are out of the direct path of the storm, but when we start getting to southern New England and the mid-Atlantic coast, that's where we start to see the very high totals. We're looking at, in the yellows, 6 to 10 inches, which is going to be most of you being affected by the storm. Probably just like very far northwestern Massachusetts that is out of it. Then we have the 10 to 15 light orange area, which is going to be, once again, a lot of you, and it starts to get more condensed to the coast there, as you can see. The darker orange is 15 to 20 inches, which is quite a lot. That's going to be on par with what we saw with Fern, and there's still quite a few of you seeing at least that much from what our forecast is showing here. And we have Nantucket labeled in 10 to 15, and Martha's Vineyard in 15 to 20, and there are higher totals here, but the reason we're kind of keeping the islands at a little bit of a lower total is because of possible mixing issues. We have no guarantee of that, but there is a chance that there could be some mixing with the very far southeastern areas being affected by the storm here, because the low center is going to be moving very, very close to the coast. Now, in those reds, it's going to be 20 to 24 inches of snow, which is, yeah, going to be pushing a lot there. Some models are showing into the 30s. We don't think there's going to be quite that much, but on our high end here, we have 24 to 28 inch in that magenta color there, which is the bullseye spot, which we have 2 of. We have one for Plymouth County, Massachusetts, and another stretching from central Rhode Island back through Connecticut. That's where we think you'll possibly be seeing 24 to 28 inches of snow, which is a lot. There's no guarantee of that. It could end up being less, but on the high end of things, that's what we think you could be seeing. Otherwise, we would be ruling with the 20 to 24 inches for most of those people in the red there, and even people in the magenta. You may not get the 24 to 28, but there is a chance that can happen, so we are putting that out there. Alright, next thing we're going to be looking at is the wind gust forecast here. So, as you can see, much crazier wind map than we had for Winter Storm Fern, because this is going to be a rather intense low, and we also have a pretty strong high pressure forming in Canada, so you're going to have a very tight pressure gradient, and that means very high winds. So, very wide area of 30 to 40 mile an hour wind gusts, which is going to be pretty much everybody that the storm is going to be affecting. That's in the yellow there. Then the bright orange, 40 to 50 miles an hour for wind gusts, just stretching down from a good amount of Maine through pretty much all of southern New England. Well, yeah, definitely all of southern New England, and even some of northern New England there. Southeastern New York State, eastern Pennsylvania, all of New Jersey, and that's all you can see on the map. Then the darker orange, which is a new shade we did not have with Fern, that's going to be 50 to 60 miles an hour. This is where we start getting more condensed to those coastal areas, and that's where we can be seeing the really, really strong winds. So, yeah, 50 to 60 miles an hour in that darker orange, and that's going to be most people in the direct path of the storm. You can see it's starting to contour more to the coast rather than being a more general area. In that red there, we have 60 to 70 miles an hour for wind gusts, and yeah, even more towards the coast, reaching coastal Connecticut, coastal New Jersey, and this is where we start to get really concerning values. The darker red that we have here is 70 to 80 mile an hour wind gusts, which is going to be for coastal Massachusetts, coastal Rhode Island, and Long Island, New York, and even some of coastal New Jersey there. And that's because the low is going to be passing so close with such high intensity and a very tight pressure gradient, so 70 to 80 mile an hour wind gusts are definitely on the table here. And we even have a purple shade there for the Cape and Islands for 80 to 90 mile an hour wind gusts. There's a chance that we could be seeing winds getting that strong as well, because usually the wind forecasts by other weather forecasting tools are underdone. So we're putting 80 to 90 on the table. There's a good chance that could happen for the Cape and the Islands. So The moral of the story here, very strong winds will be associated with this storm, along with a very heavy snow, lots of snow, and that means we are going to be getting blizzard conditions here. So you all better be prepared. And we got one more map for you, and that's going to be the power outage forecast. Of course, anything is possible, so we got possible chance of power outages stretching pretty much all the way north. It's just very extreme northern areas that the storm is going to be completely missing, that we do not have shaded at all. Then we have the more jade green shade for isolated, which will be most people in the general vicinity of the storm. As we start getting into the more direct path of the storm, that will be scattered power outages, where the winds will be moderate but not the strongest. And we will, same deal with the snow, not going to be the heaviest snow, but there's still going to be a decent amount of snow. And it is going to be that heavy, wet snow, so there's still going to be a chance of power outages if you're in the path of the storm at all. Do not rule that out. You're not safe if you're in the yellow. There's still a good chance. As we get closer to the coastal areas, we got the orange shade, numerous power outages expected, where we're going to be having pretty strong winds and possibly the heaviest snow. Because once again, it's going to be that heavy, wet snow, and that on top of extremely strong winds here can easily down trees and power lines. So yeah, in the extreme coastal areas, southeastern Massachusetts, southern Rhode Island, southern Connecticut, Long Island, and eastern New Jersey, we once again have brought out the red shade, the widespread power outages, because we expect to be seeing a lot of outages popping up in these areas. So, yeah, this is going to be a very serious winter storm here, and we don't put the term blizzard lightly, because there are some pretty serious requirements in order for a storm to be considered a blizzard, and we think that Hernando is going to be meeting those requirements. It will be lasting for several hours. There will be very heavy snow. The rates could be 1 to 3 inches per hour at times. And we are going to be seeing sustained winds at least in the 30s, likely even in the 40s for many people. And wind gusts going up into the 70s, 80s, and potentially up to 90 miles an hour for the Cape and Islands. Very extreme impacts we're looking at here. So, yeah, don't take this lightly. Take this seriously. Wario's going to be telling you how to prepare at the end of the video. It's going to be pretty much the same thing that we did with Winter Storm Fern. But, you know, this time it's going to be southern New England and the mid-Atlantic coastlines that are going to be in the bullseye of this storm. So, yeah. Now let's get to your threat levels. We're done with the maps here, so here we go. Yeah. Alright, so there are your threat levels. Let me get to the side here so you can see them better. Yeah. This is very, very concerning stuff. Let me actually pull them up on the screen that I'm monitoring. Yeah. These are very concerning threat levels we're looking at here. The main reason being there are 4 level 5 threats that we're talking about with this storm. And the other threats we have here listed are also at least a high level. So let's start working our way top to bottom here. I don't know what the heck I just did, but yeah, top to bottom. We're going to be starting out with the snow. This is obviously going to be a level 5 threat. Not just because of the amount of snow. Yes, it's a pretty high amount of snow, but we have seen worse before. And 1 to 2, maybe, I don't really think we're going to be pushing 3 feet, but I would say 1 to 2 feet of snow is definitely possible for many of you. But we had snow at a level 4 threat for Fern, with the same amount of snow being forecasted. And the reason we have bumped it up to a level 5 for this winter storm is because the way it's going to be falling. It's going to be heavy, wet snow rather than light and powdery snow, because rather than being well below freezing for the entire duration of the storm, we're going to be pretty much right on the edge instead of well below freezing. So it'll be right at that dividing line between snow and mixing/rain. And we're going to be just below freezing, if not right at freezing. So we're going to be getting heavy, wet snow, which is infinitely worse than the light and powdery stuff. It weighs more and has more potential to do damage. So that is why snow has been bumped up to a level 5 for this winter storm. Next up, the wind. This is also a level 5 because we're seeing some of the highest winds that we have seen in a long time. It's very rare that we get winds this strong with the winter storm. And the last time that I can recall this happening was with Winter Storm Riley in 2018, where we did have some gusts pushing 90 miles an hour plus. So, yeah. we do think that Hernando has the potential to do that, and that is why we have wind also at a level 5. Historic potential for winds here. And yeah, easily, just with those two, we are rivaling Winter Storm Nemo from 2013 as well. So if any of you remember that, if you were around in 2013, definitely a good comparison to make, because Winter Storm Nemo also dumped 1, 2, possibly even 3 feet of snow in some areas and had very similar wind strength to this. So whatever the heck you did for Winter Storm Nemo, if you prepared for it, I would definitely recommend doing that again. Continuing down, we've got power outages also to level 5 because, well, yeah, with these kinds of threats, we're expecting a lot of people to go in the dark, so you better be prepared with those generators, power stations like your EcoFlow units, power banks, charge up your devices. Make sure you are ready to go in case the power goes out, because you're not going to be able to leave once the storm starts. The snow is definitely going to be, blocking you in your home. Whether it be a house or an apartment building, there's no way you're going outside once this storm starts, because strong winds, lots of snow. If people that make any attempts to clear snow during the storm, it is going to backfire completely because of the wind. So, yeah, make sure you're prepared for power outages. Speaking of that, as I just mentioned, not being able to go outside in the duration of the storm, travel disruption also level 5, because, yeah, how the heck are you going to be able to travel with so much snow falling at once, especially the heavy, wet kind of snow, and with all of the wind blowing it around? Visibility is going to be severely reduced with this storm. We're talking about visibility that could be down to like a quarter of a mile at times, because of just how intense the snow is going to be and the wind. So, yeah, you're not going to be able to see, let alone all the snow accumulating on the roads and stuff. It's just going to be a hard time and pretty much impossible to travel during the height of the storm. So, make sure you get all your supplies while you can. Prepare now before the storm actually arrives, and stay inside once it is here. And hopefully you'll be good to go. If you got supplies that are going to help you get through the storm, good for you. Next up, we've got coastal flooding at a level 3. So this is a strong coastal system, and that means onshore winds will cause coastal flooding. Not sure if this is coinciding with a high tide because we have not checked the tides, but if it is, that could be causing coastal flooding levels that will rival what we saw with Winter Storms Grace and Riley in 2018. So be on the lookout for that. We're not entirely sure that that's going to happen, but there is a possibility that it can, especially since the storm will be lasting at least 12 hours. So, yeah, especially with the strong winds, we do expect coastal flooding will be an issue regardless of the tide levels. Even on low tide, there could be still some water spilling over those levees and seawalls, so be prepared for coastal flooding is all I'm saying here. And the blizzard conditions, I mentioned the visibility earlier. Blizzard conditions will be a level 4 threat because we're going to be seeing heavy snow for hours, very strong wind for hours, and the visibility is going to be very, very low in the duration of that. So, yeah, that's what we got for your threat levels. This is looking to be a historic winter storm. Blizzard potential on the table here. We've already mentioned how blizzard warnings have already been issued for a lot of places in the direct path of this storm. This has not happened since Keenan in 2022, and we urge you all to be prepared. Now, we're going to be looking a little bit beyond the storm, and the 7-day forecast is going to be very interesting, so let's get to that. Yeah. There's your 7-day forecast. Alright, so let's get started. It is currently 2:48 a.m. on Sunday as we are recording this, so we're starting with Sunday here. Sunday, this is when the storm begins to move in later in the evening, so we've got moderate snow here. High of 36, low of 26. The temperatures are alright, it's not the coldest it's been. It has been very, very cold throughout January, and we finally had some relief. Snow has been able to melt, not all of it, but a lot of the snow from Fern has been able to melt. And now we're just going to be getting a ton more snow. Alright, now Monday. This is when the brunt of the impact is going to be happening. And for the first time ever, we are bringing out one of our extreme impact weather icons here. This is the extreme snow and wind icon because we will be seeing pretty extreme levels of snow and wind for Monday. high of 32 and a low of 25. So the temperatures will be pretty condensed as the storm's moving through, but the main concern here is the actual storm itself. Lots of snow and wind, as we have been talking about. Next up, we've got Tuesday here. It's going to be a pretty cold day, but at least the sun will be out. 30 degrees, and that's for high, and 14 for low. So yeah, we do have a little bit of an Arctic blast following the storm, which means that snow is going to be staying around, and hopefully you have prepared with like food and water and other stuff to keep yourself going without having to leave your home for at least a few days, because it's going to be a lot of snow, and there is a great chance of power outages, as I mentioned, and it's probably going to take multiple days for things to be cleared out. So yeah, definitely prepare to be staying at home for a few days. Alright, then on Wednesday, we're going to be adding a little bit of insult to injury here with the potential for some snow showers. 39 for a high and 12 for a low. So yeah, possible insult to injury coming on Wednesday as well. That's going to be definitely something, but it won't be nearly as much. It's just going to be, if anything, probably 1 or 2 inches of snow, and it's going to be quick hitting, so yeah. Then on Thursday, we're finally going to be warming up significantly. It's going to be 43 for high, 29 for low with mostly cloudy skies, not looking too bad. On Friday, we're going to be looking at a possible wintry mix, high of 41 and a low of 28, so the chance for a wintry mix is there, but we do want to rule with rain for the more southern areas, so it might not be another insult to injury, but we do have to keep an eye on that. And then on Saturday, we're looking at mostly sunny skies, 46 for high and 22 for low, and going beyond the 7 days we have here, it actually looks to be getting generously warm as we start out March, which, looking very forward to that, so yeah. Already seeing 46 at the end of the week here, and we're going to be possibly seeing 50s as we start off March. So yeah, looking very, very nice as we go to the end of the week, but obviously we have the elephant in the room, Winter Storm Hernando, that we got to get through first, and then a little Arctic blast afterwards, and possibly a few more snow systems. But all in all, that is what we've got for you here in the meteorology studio. So yeah, that's it. We're going to take it back to Wario at the news desk now, and he's going to run you through how to prepare for this winter storm. Back to you, Wario. Okay, thank you, Donkey Kong. So, yeah, this is looking to be a really serious nor'easter that we're looking at here. Donkey Kong did mention the nor'easter category being a high-end category 3 as of right now, based on what the forecast is showing, based on the low pressure intensity. We do have the Venus City Nor'easter scale. There is a video on that if you would like to check it out on how it works. Basically, it categorizes a nor'easter based on the low pressure intensity. So this one is being rated at a high-end category 3, this is pretty severe, not gonna lie. We ran through, you know, the potential impacts, which are looking very, very likely at this point. You know, we're only a day out from the storm, and this is how it's trended. Very heavy amounts of snow, lots of snow, very strong winds. So obviously you should be preparing for something like this, because this could bring some catastrophic impacts to a lot of people, especially because it's a highly densely populated community, the Mid-Atlantic and New England coastlines. A lot of people live there, so I'm urging all of you to prepare now. And once again, I'm going to be putting up on the screen here how you can be doing that. So make sure you got food and water. You're going to need it for at least a few days, as Donkey Kong mentioned, because you're probably going to be snowed in your home. You're not going to be able to leave. It's going to be cold after this storm. The snow's not going to be able to melt easily. It's going to take crews a long time to clear all of this too. So prepare with food and water. Make sure you have enough to survive a few days in your home without leaving. And obviously prepare some backup power solutions, because we are expecting quite a few power outages from this storm as well, based on the impacts with the strong winds and the heavy snow. And it's going to be that heavy wet type as well. So yeah, flashlights, batteries, power stations, generators, etc. Make sure you are prepared for a power outage. Even if you're in the jade green shade that Donkey Kong showed you, or even that teal green shade, it's still possible you could lose power. But especially as we're pushing towards, the darker colors on the map that he showed you earlier, you must prepare. You have got to make sure you're ready for something to go wrong. Another awesome idea I would suggest you is make sure you got radios. Like, communications could easily go down as well if you lose power, so make sure you have like a radio you can easily tune the FM AM radio and get the latest news there. Or if you have like two-way radios to stay connected with other people, that would also be a pretty good idea. But regardless, just see if you can get your hands on a radio. Even a simple FM AM radio will suffice. You will be able to tune to news outlets on the radio, which will keep you informed and updated. Or a NOAA weather radio is also a very good option. You will receive warnings through those radios, and they can also keep you updated and give you guidance on it. I cannot talk. Guidance on other steps that you can take to make sure that you are going to be okay. Just earlier today, blizzard warnings and winter storm warnings were issued and pushed out through NOAA weather radios in the areas being affected, so I highly recommend you make sure that you have a NOAA weather radio and that it is functional, because you may need instructions during the height of the storm, and if you lose power, these weather radios usually do also feature backup power if you put batteries in them. So I would highly suggest getting your hands on one and an FM AM radio. Make sure you got backup power supplies and food and water, and hopefully you will be good to go. Yeah. So that is what we've got for you in this full and detailed forecast of Winter Storm Hernando. Good luck, everybody. This is going to be a rough one. And yeah, thank you for tuning in, and I will hopefully see you in the next episode. Wario, out.